Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the Weekend Wrap Up. I'm David Thomas, and with me is Mr. Josh Blevins. Josh, it's good to see you sitting here across the table again. One more time.
One more time. It's like we did this last week.
Yeah, we almost, if it feels like deja vu.
It does, all over again.
Yeah, all over again. We've got a lot of things to talk about. Predominantly, we're going to be diving into the Uncle Nearest update.
That's going to be the big one today. Yeah. This is going to be the weekend business news more than government this week.
That's right. So, that's right. And before we take a break, Josh, you had something you want to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little inside baseball, just very briefly. Not to pat ourselves on the back, but I did want to just say something that wouldn't otherwise get noticed. Shelbyville Now this week became the most followed news source in Bedford County on social media. So past the 20,000 mark, up from 14,000 at the beginning of the year. Just wanted to say thank you to everyone that tunes in and watches us every week. Also the sports shows, also you and Bo now doing live twice a week. If not for everybody sharing our content, liking our content, all of that, we wouldn't have reached that point.
It's a milestone, and I didn't see us reaching it this year, and it just took off.
It just took
a lot of videos and a lot of followers just started piling in, and
particularly the last couple months. I think the last 60 days we've passed 3 million views on our different things we published in the last 60 days. So just wanted to say thank you to everybody that shared, liked, watched us, watched us, whatever, send a negative comment, a positive comment. We love it all. So we appreciate everybody out there. And speaking of which, maybe we should hear from our sponsor, and then we're going to dive into the news from the past week. So
we'll be back to talk about all these things that we've got laid out, predominantly Uncle Nearest. I know everybody's wanting to hear that update.
That was our biggest story online this week. So.
All right, we'll be right back and we'll dive in.
Get the results you want with the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
Welcome back in here to the Weekend Wrap Up, the news that matters here on October 4th. And again, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Dennis Young Insurance and Leverage Power Washing, for being a sponsor of the Weekend Wrap Up. And Josh, let's start this wrap up. I know you've got the big story
We've got the big story, but real quick, before we get into that, since we're starting with business news, I want to cover a couple other smaller things in the world of business. David's favorite electrolyte company, Duxon, submitted a report to the state this week. This is they received tax incentives and funding from the state for the purpose of bringing 101 jobs to Bedford County. 3 years ago, they submitted their third annual report, so they're 3 of 5 years into their plan. And on the report this week, they told the state they have brought 21 jobs to Bedford County. So that is the correct number.
Down from last year.
That's down from last year. Last year they had 23 employees. This year they have 21 employees. It's down. So they have 2 years left on their state plan to hire 80 more people to get to their numbers.
I'm going to say this, Josh. I think that the EV market has decreased and not been accepted like anticipated. And this is the reason, because if you're not building electric cars, then you don't need acid to put in the batteries.
That is,
so that's the bottom line.
And some more evidence to that effect. West Tennessee, we got the big blue oval complex coming there for Ford. And part of that was supposed to be a company called Enchem, E-N-C-H-E-M, out of South Korea, another electrolyte company. They're one of the top, by their claims, one of the top 5 electrolyte companies in the world. They were scheduled to, and had actually done the grading work to build a facility that was bigger than the one here in town that was supposed to employ 190 people in this week, they announced that they're scrapping the whole project. They're not coming to Tennessee.
Josh,
at all, so.
I've been thinking about this, and we talked about a South Korean company being here. That's great. Okay, we got a company. We have 21 employees. It's hired, but the market is not there for what they're building right now. Obviously,
Currently, yes.
Okay, and we were talking about expansion in West Tennessee. Just that you mentioned another South Korean company.
Yeah.
I got a question. With as much technology as we have in the United States, why can't a United States company build this if it's needed? Why can't we do it? That's a big question.
That is a big question,
but
yeah.
it's for us to contemplate.
Yeah, and actually the articles on NCAM that I read actually this morning a little bit doing some research on this is actually, as you might expect, it's actually Chinese companies that hold the top 2, 3, 4
Right.
positions. And then a couple of these South Korean companies are smaller. So yeah, I didn't see a lot of American names on the list. So
If we're going to build it in the United States, you would think that an American company would be the one pushing and getting this done. I mean, we're giving grants to foreign governments, basically.
Yeah, you would think we could get some.
Anyway.
So, yeah, speaking of American companies, let's just real quick. This isn't on the rundown, but I went to this week to the 65th anniversary of Cooper Steel,
Yeah,
a local company, American company,
American.
that,
Bedford County.
Yeah, they told the stories of back in the Barry in particular told the stories of back in the 60s and 70s
Yeah.
where they had so little business that they'd sit there and play horseshoes in the shop during the
Yeah.
day and wait for the neighbors to come over and buy RC colas.
Yeah.
So they measured
Yeah.
their success and how many RC colas they sold during the day.
Yeah.
And they've grown from that little company up to a big growing steel company. They're local. They're bringing in local jobs, and they're investing in the community as well, at the school, at the high
Yeah.
school,
Oh, yeah.
all around the community. So we do have there are some success stories in local business here.
Yes.
So, but let's go to the flip side. Let's go to the big one from this week. We had 3 legal filings in the Uncle Nearest case this week. We covered 2 of the 3 online. We'll talk about the third one at the end. It's a nothing, but we'll cover it anyways. The first one was the judge came back to all the parties involved, and there's been some filings from both the receiver and the bank saying, hey, there's all these other corporations, LLCs hanging out there. We see money shifting back and forth, but we can't see the other end of the transaction. We want access to these companies' books. So the judge at the beginning of the week gave some deadlines. He said by October 21st, he needs all of those 11 corporations, LLCs, companies to submit something to the court if they want to contest having their books opened. He also asked the bank to submit to him any and everything they've got in their records that says, hey, we can see financial transactions that reach out to these companies outside of the ones that we're currently looking at. And then he's going to make the decision sometime after October 21st. Does he let the receiver dive into these other sets of books and get into these other companies? Because there's one of the filings, and these are allegations because these are one-sided filings, but they said that they've tracked already transactions of multiple millions of dollars either coming into Uncle Nearest or going out of Uncle Nearest. And they want to know where the money's coming from and going from.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But the big one that we had been waiting for was the receiver late Wednesday night. And I mean late. I think it came in at like 11 o'clock or something.
Yeah.
It filed their first quarterly report with the court. I expected quarterly report would be like a financial report. I expected a bunch of numbers. He did not supply a bunch of numbers. He wrote a book report. He wrote 19 pages of narrative and text and very little financial information in this report. I'm going to go ahead and hit the financials at the beginning because I'm more a numbers guy, and we'll talk through those, and then we'll get into actually what he said in his very long rambling report. So the only financials he gave was that Uncle Nearest borrowed an additional $2.5 million from Farm Credit to operate over the next 13 weeks, or 13 weeks starting from when he took over the company. They needed $1 million for what he called delinquent necessary operating expenses. And then the receiver and his big posse needed another $1.5 million to do their work for 13 weeks. So
Wow.
Uncle Nearest did not have that $2.5 million in the bank, and the bank, I guess, felt like they'd already were into him for $108 million. What's another $2.5?
Throw some more in.
So they loaned him another $2.5 million. Now he did say, other than that minor $2.5 million, he was able to make a balanced budget for 13 weeks. So if They'd had that in the bank. He could have balanced the budget. They didn't, so he borrowed it. The numbers he did give, and he was not clear. This was called a quarterly report, but he said he'd only been there 5 weeks. I feel like these are numbers over the 5 weeks he's been there. Is Uncle Nearest generated $1.45 million in cash coming in, and they spent $2.08 million in money going out in 5 weeks. So that's a narrow time period. You don't like to extrapolate from only 5 weeks, but if you did do the math, that's only about $15 million a year in revenue at that. So hopefully that's a very low month and things are going to improve from there. So that's pretty bad for such a large
the
company.
economics of the whiskey and bourbon business is not good at the moment.
Yeah.
And a lot of experts that are in that field think it's going to be in this shape for 5 to 10 years. It's a trend. It's just a trend.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a challenge for them to move forward if that's going to be their key product is whiskey and bourbon. And I know they've got restaurant and they've got the tourist attractions, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I don't know what percentage of it is, but I'm going to say the bulk of it is the wholesale of whiskey to
the whiskey, I think, is the
distribution
business.
of that.
Yeah,
So
that's their core business. So wasn't a great 5 weeks on the numbers, but on the other hand, which is probably why he didn't have a lot of good numbers to give. He'd only been there 5 weeks. But the actual report, if you read through it, it's 19 pages. We've got a link on our Facebook. You're welcome to read all 19 pages if you want to. We're going to give you the Cliff Notes here. Overall, he was positive. He said he feels like the company has value. He feels like it can be reorganized quickly. He feels like his job is going to be done by the end of the first quarter of 2026. So he thinks he can get this thing cleaned up by the end of the first quarter. At that point, he feels like the core company, the core operation can either be refinanced or sold to somebody else as a going concern. Theoretically, you'd think a bigger liquor company,
Right.
But could be sold to anybody. Other positives, he felt like everybody's cooperating so far. I mean, he was the one that was recommended by Uncle Nearest, so you wouldn't feel like they would not be cooperative. He said
Right.
the bank's been cooperative. Everybody that they owe money to has been cooperative. So everybody's getting along and playing nice at the moment. He said he has full control of everything. And by everything, he's only meaning the companies he's been given access to so
Right.
far, not the other 11. The only thing he's not been able to get a hold of is the French property and bank accounts. He's having to have all of the legal paperwork translated into French. He's got to present it to courts in France. They have to approve it. So he said it's going to take a little while to get at the French stuff, but he's working on it. And then his other big positive for him was he was able to make a break-even 13-week budget, except for the $2.5 million that they were short. But he felt like if not for the
Now, a lot of
extenuating circumstances, he could have broken even over 13
if he
weeks.
didn't have his expenses coming out of that, it would look different because you're looking
Yeah.
at 1.5
1.5 is just him.
just him.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
Well, him and his crew.
Right.
Yeah.
right. So that should decrease as time goes on off the front end of this. And
Yeah, that'll go away eventually. He said he has communicated with Tennessee Distilling Group, which is doing the distillation, bottling, and storing of the whiskey, which we knew already. He's also had extensive communications with the distributor. He did not name who their main distributor is. He's had extensive communication with shareholders, creditors, and he's already talking to potential future investors on who wants to buy this once I get it turned around next year. So he seems to have it on the ball. Negatives. There was a decent number of negatives, however. Capitalization table is inaccurate. That's the list of who owns what percentage of the company.
that's pretty important information.
That's important information, and he don't know yet. He's been there 5 weeks. They had a capitalization table. He's researched it. He thinks it's completely wrong. So he's literally reaching out to everybody that thinks they own shares and asking them to send him whatever basically he hopes they held onto the receipts.
And
He said, send back your receipt and tell me how much they told you were buying.
So you're looking
Yeah.
down here and some of this other, you're talking about he's had hundreds of calls.
He's had
claiming to be
hundreds of
owners
calls from people that either say, hey, I own some shares of this company, or hey, this company owes me money. So yeah, he didn't say dozens. He didn't say any. He said hundreds of people have contacted him. He feels like what financial statements he does have from them are inaccurate and or incomplete. From his research so far, he does believe the former CFO may have committed financial improprieties. However, he's not found any evidence of fraud by anybody that's currently working there anymore. So he feels like anybody that was doing shady business has been let go. And had nothing to do with shady business, but as part of he's now trying to cut costs any way he can. He went ahead in his first month on the job and laid off 12 people, which is 13% of their staff, which if you do the math, that should leave them with about 79 or 80 people working there right now. Tennessee Distilling Group, who is the one actually making the whiskey, has partially restored shipments, but they are still holding on to some of the whiskey because they have what's called a warehouse lien on the inventory. I think this is going to be one of the biggest tie-ups in this.
Yeah.
The bank has been looking at this, and I believe the number is 55,000 barrels in inventory as their collateral on the loans. Well, the guy that made the whiskey,
where's my money?
he's got a lien on some of this whiskey because he hasn't gotten paid on all of it yet. So already Tennessee Distilling Group has submitted to the court, and they're part of this whole court case now. They've got a lawyer involved. Their lawyers negotiating on their behalf. In addition to, you've got the receiver, his lawyers, you got the bank and their lawyers, you got the company and their lawyers, and then the last filing that happened yesterday in this case, a company which I had never heard of, but you may or may not like the name of this company, called WhistlePig. WhistlePig has thrown their lawyers into the mix, and I did just briefly
back up and say, who is this?
WhistlePig.
I know, but
Yes.
what are they?
Okay, so what I found on them, they're another liquor company. They're in the rye business. Uncle Nearest, if you follow them at all recently, or one of their newer products they have is a rye whiskey or a rye, I don't know what you call it. It's a rye alcohol product of some kind. It appears that perhaps WhistlePig is the one that's been making the rye product. So they owe WhistlePig money. So WhistlePig has jumped in as well. So you got Tennessee Distilling Group that's making most of the product. WhistlePig, which I guess I don't know that this was known, was making the rye product. I think that may be new news to some people. And they're owed money as well. So they've got a lawyer, and they've jumped in the pool with the other lawyers. You got a lot of lawyers in here now. And they're all the lawyers are making money when nobody else is.
I just don't see how this works. But honestly.
Yeah. So currently, the receiver said he's evaluating which properties can be liquidated that are non-revenue producing. First one, he said he would love to get rid of tomorrow if he could. He's still waiting on the courts. Is the property in France? He said that property is $15 to $25 million away from being able to produce a cognac product that can come to market. And he said they don't have $15 to $25 million to throw into it. So they just need to sell it. He mentioned Martha's Vineyard property is one he's looking at liquidating. And then he didn't mention a specific name of a property, but he said properties in Bedford County. So there's additional Bedford County properties that he's looking at.
We have speculation as to what that could be.
As different ones, So he's looking at all that. To your point earlier, he said he's been contacted by hundreds of potential creditors and shareholders trying to figure out who is really owed money, how much money they're owed. And this is a big one. A substantial amount of their financial records prior to 2024 were erased from the company's computer system. So he doesn't have much of anything prior to 2024, which is not that far back.
Okay. This right here is I got a big red flag problem. Josh, if I own a company, if I'm a CEO of a company, I don't care about a CFO. I don't care if I'm the CEO. I've got a computer backup. I've got reports in binders, paper reports in binders for every year. From day one, where I was scratching it on a legal pad, maybe. To today.
Right.
Every bit of it.
And supposedly these are gone. The allegations these are allegations, he wasn't able to prove this. He said current employees tell him that a former employee deleted all these records immediately after termination. He didn't give a name. You could say, I mean, that they've thrown everything else and blame the CFO. Maybe they're blaming the CFO on this. That he's not saying who they're calling.
This is going to come to a head eventually.
But he's got no records or very limited records prior to 2024. So he's got his people in there from scratch, rebuilding financial records pre-2024. And then the other big thing that they're working on, which could take a while, he said they're filing delinquent tax returns and making payments of taxes and trying to determine what taxes they owe. They've not been up to date on payroll taxes, excise taxes, business taxes, property taxes, and this is a big one that we didn't know, but they've got sales tax issues that they've not
Man,
covered sales tax.
that right
So
there, all that right there is going to be a pile of money because there's a pile of penalties.
right. So they've got to get all that sorted out and figure out who owes what to where. So that is his next round of work over the next 13 weeks is kind of pulling this spider web apart, see who owns what, who owes what, getting as much of it paid as he can, and to generate cash flow. He can't keep borrowing money from Farm Credit. They're not going to keep writing him checks. So his next step is to start selling
Do
properties.
you think the
as he
conversation
can.
went
So,
like this? I'm just speculating. Hey,
Yeah.
we're not going to get a dime unless you pay me $2.5 million more. Okay.
yeah,
We need
he couldn't even
$2.5 more
move forward with the first
Okay,
13
so that
weeks
right there
without
to
it.
me,
So,
Josh, this is a red flag.
Yeah.
I mean, there's I know he is trying to spin it positively here because he's optimistic.
he
He's
says he's
optimistic.
optimistic at the moment. Yeah, he feels like he can turn it into at least a break-even company when it's all said and done. But
He's
he's
going to
gonna
sell a lot of whiskey.
he's gonna sell a lot of whiskey. He's got to sell off some property to cover.
Yeah.
I mean, just even though you can break even, you've still got all these old things
Yeah,
hanging out there.
yeah.
So he's got to take care of the old stuff. So that's kind of where we're sitting at. Can't ever tell in this case. I mean, there could be a bunch of filings this week. Likely, it looks like end of October before there's a lot more news because they've now got to wait on all these companies to send responses and say, hey, we should be in this, not in this. So you got 11 different companies. Man, if they start bringing in individual lawyers, some
Yeah.
of them, can you imagine how many lawyers are going to
The
be involved
fees are
in
going
this
to eat
thing?
up everything, man.
Well, again, so just his group, which he's got a group of 6 companies he submitted to the court, which they've accepted apparently because they're working, is operating at a cost of $1.5 million every 13 weeks. So every 3 months?
Yeah.
So if he goes till end of March of next year, he's by himself going to generate $3-4 million worth of legal fees, and that's not counting all these other lawyers out there.
Yeah.
So
All right. Leverage power washing. Fawn's going to be on Shark Tank.
she is, yes. They didn't
Selling
announce
what?
that, but she announced that they agreed to keep her on the show this season. So yeah. So
Well, that makes me wonder about this show now. I kind of like Shark Tank. I like listening to some of this stuff and
Yeah.
see how it plays out. You know,
well, it'll be
there's been some people make a lot of money
Yeah.
come out of there partnering with those billionaires.
yeah.
But I just can't figure out this situation. Why?
Yeah. Well, for one thing, they probably have already recorded the episodes, so they
Oh,
probably didn't want to.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, all those TV shows get recorded in advance, and they made the decision to run them, so that will probably help their ratings as well. I would imagine.
I'll say this,
So-
Josh. Bedford County needs this as a county, as an area,
to
for
get
this
turned
to
around.
get turned around and
Yeah.
working, and that place not close up. Maybe somebody will come in here and see the value after he gets it cleaned up and just snatch it up. Some big company and say, hey, we're going to do this right, and we got the money to stand behind it.
Right. If they can get it back to the core
Right.
business of just making and selling the whiskey.
All the other
Yeah.
smoke and mirror stuff, you get all that broken away, there's a business there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. And there is, I mean, some money to be made there. So
Right.
we don't know yet because he doesn't have financials how much money
Right.
there is to be made. So
Well,
even he doesn't know.
Well, everybody in Bedford County needs to be pulling for this guy. That's all
Yeah.
I'll say.
Yeah. So, and he's working on, one little side note that I forgot to mention, we were talking about the French thing. He did mention that just to make sure of the French property and the value and all that, he personally went over and inspected the French.
Okay. Okay.
I was thinking, yeah, that must be
that's-
nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
well.
yeah. You're on the the dime. All your expenses are covered.
That's a trip.
Let's go to the
Yeah.
property in Cognac,
Just make
France.
sure.
Just make sure everything.
And on the way
looks
back,
good,
let's stop
so.
at Martha's Vineyard and check that
Yeah,
one out.
he
too.
didn't mention that one,
But-
but
but-
particularly he did mention he went to the property.
Josh,
in
I don't know
France,
about
so.
you, but a trip to France right now doesn't sound too good to me. But a lot
Yeah.
of people would just die to go to France. You
Yeah,
know?
and this is out in and I don't know much about France, but
Yeah.
I imagine this
the
is
hill
out in
country,
the hill
probably.
country,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
very nice. So yeah, he didn't mention how long he hung out, but he did say he personally.
I'm
inspected
sure he
the
was in
French
and out of there in a
property,
day.
so.
He didn't stay long.
Maybe so. So, but that really, that's about it. That's what happened this week in the case. And we did just 2 brief posts on that, and we got 150,000, plus views on that. So I know
Yeah.
this is what people are, and this is the question I get asked. I was at events this week and people are like, what's going on with Uncle Nearest? That's
Honestly,
why
Josh,
we cover it. So
in Middle Tennessee,
yeah.
this is where you're getting your information on this right
Yeah.
now, because the others, they're not digging deep. They'll put a headline out and briefly talk about it. But
Yeah.
the research that you're doing on this is giving the proper information, and people are interested in the future of what this business holds. I mean,
Yeah.
what's going to happen.
Yep, and hoping for the best still. So with that, let's get into our normal weekly news, which was not a whole lot went on this week. I did actually have something every day of the week, but none of them were super crazy. But Monday evening, I went to our park board for the first time I've ever been to that one. They talked about our soccer complex. We've got a budget number they've got to stay under. They're back and forth with the, I think it's Wold, WOLD is the company working on it. Still on design, engineering, making sure they get it to where we can keep it under that number on the main part of it. They have a initial design on a nice building that would house concessions and bathrooms and have a covered pavilion area. Likely that's going to fall outside of the budget, and they're actually probably going to go out and try to look for some corporate sponsors on that part of it. Also, lighting is a big expense that it's very unlikely. Actually, I'd say there's zero chance that the lighting is going to fall within the budget that they have to work with. So they're going to look for corporate sponsorship on lighting and that building at least. So that'll be happening with that one. And then I had a side discussion with our parks director, and I just want to get into this briefly because I hear this did definitely turn into a hot button social media issue this week, and I hear it's going to be a hot button issue Thursday at the council meeting. I hear there's going to be people coming out. Baseball, softball fields. We have talked extensively, I think, over the last month or so. The city is at least looking at doing due diligence on the Musgrave fields over behind the Dairy Queen area. Everybody local knows where
everybody knows where it's at.
Everybody knows where they're at, which have been there for a number of years. Those are not public fields. That is private property that the property owner has allowed those fields to be there for a number of years. I think going way, way back. I mean, a lot of people tell me their kids and grandkids and whatever.
Oh yeah, for as long as I can remember.
Yeah. So they have, at least in theory, agreed that they would be willing to sell them to the city for a new fire department headquarters is the primary reason for that location. Obviously the people that are using those fields are upset because and man, have we heard about it on social media this week. I've had everything from city leaders don't care about kids and they don't want us to have anything to do for our kids. As always, as we've discussed in particularly the entertainment district recently, I answer to the voters and we're going to do what the constituents want. However, I don't feel like in this case enough of the accurate information has been put out there on what is going on. The city has no intention of going in there, bulldozing over their fields next summer and building a big building. That's not the plan. The plan, first of all, for that property is to just acquire the property and have it, and then we got to make some payments and pay off the property. We're not. You don't want us raising property taxes just to go buy property in town. So
the city would own it for a period
of time. And it could continue to be ball fields theoretically during that period of time. At the same time as that's happening, which happened, part of the reason I went to this park board, the city is actively, at least I know several of us on the council, actively looking for replacement ball fields. So we don't want to take out, I think they have 5 ball fields there, and just replace them with a building and not have anything. Believe it or not, we do actually care about kids. So it's hard to believe, but most everybody on the council, I'm thinking, has either had a kid or a couple kids. Some of them have grandkids.
Well, let me tell you, it's not about that. That's just something that's tossed out there. It's about history. It's about tradition. It's about, it's always been there. Yeah. And I'm like that. I like to see things the way they were 50 years ago. I like to reflect back. I played ball over there. Yeah. And the thought of it not being there anymore is a tragedy in our minds sometimes, or it's sad, to see that go away. Well, I can look down Madison Street and I look down North Main Street and think about things that were there when I was in high school or a kid, and they're not there anymore. It's sad to see it go, but it's the sign of things changing. We hate change. I mean, it's just by nature.
Right.
And that's
And-
the way it is.
And this is a process that a lot of people haven't been following it, but it's actually been going on for over 3 years. MTAS, which is the Municipal Assistance
Right.
Program, came to Shelbyville. They located, it was either 3 or 4 properties that met there's a very narrow criteria of where we can put a new fire station because of ISO ratings, because of safety to residents, emergency response, number of reasons. They were given free reign to look anywhere in the city and find us 3 or 4 properties that met the criteria. These properties didn't have to be for sale. They didn't have to look like they were for sale. And none of them actually were for sale that they brought to us. These were
Right.
just 4 random parcels. This was the top one on that list. And because of the fact it had the ball fields, it was not the one the city pursued first. They actually went through the others on the list that were less desirable. The most recent one, a lot of people do know
The
about
library
the
property,
library
yeah.
property, which fell apart. And for different reasons, those other pieces of property just didn't work, either physical reasons, either
Right.
number of reasons. And they were kind of pushed back into this one, which actually was the top recommendation from MTAS. So that's how they ended up with this property. I've heard from a number of people saying, hey, why don't you go to, I heard where the old the box factory and stuff is. There's different reasons they've looked at those parcels and they don't work. There's size. To get, even that's part of the reason the library one fell apart. Even though they had done a design that was 3 stories, they couldn't find a way to get enough parking spaces in there. There just wasn't the room. You've got to have a certain number of parking spaces for this many police and fire. People have to come in. City court will be in this building. There's a number of things going on there. So you've got to have enough acreage of property. It's got to be located in such a way that it doesn't take away from our current fire coverage. You have to be within a 1.5 mile radius of a certain number of properties within the city. You don't want to overlap with Station 2 and Station 4, which already exists. So there's a number of reasons.
Is this
So that's kind of
basically
where we're at.
the basic need comes from expansion of our population in the city and the need for more service.
We need
grow
more
your
service. We've got
Okay,
more
so-
people are here.
So
than-
all this
yeah.
goes down to our population increase from back in 1980 of 12,000 to up to 25. And honestly, if you did a count, if you went door to door, Josh, in this city and knocked on every door and you could freeze everybody and count it, I promise you there's more than 30,000 people living in the city of Shelbyville right now.
I'd say we're
Okay.
around that 30 number
All right,
at least.
so-
Yeah.
So this is going to continue
Right.
to expand out
Yeah.
as we grow in population. So by the time, if you go and let's say it's 5 years down the road before we can get something going on this, we're way behind the curve probably.
We're already behind at that
All
point.
right, okay. And then if this continued population explosion takes place, and if everybody that wants to build builds all this high density property that we've discussed for the last 2 or 3 years, by the time that gets built and finished, we're going to be obsolete again.
Right. We already, just totally apart from this fire station that we're looking at, we're behind. We need Station 4 to be built, and that's already been identified. It was identified in the same study. It has to be built somewhere within a very narrow radius of the intersection of Peacock Lane and 231. Because if you look at a map of all the construction and stuff that's gone on the north side of the city over the last 15, 20 years, those people already have inadequate fire coverage before we even get into this one. So we've got 2 that need to be built at the same time, and we're struggling to get one going. This one has been on the books for 3 years and has made no progress.
So we got a 16.9 fluid ounce bottle of water from Kroger, natural spring water sitting here.
Yeah.
And if I try to throw a gallon in it, it's just not going to work, Josh.
Right.
You got stuff spilling out everywhere. That's basically what's happened, I guess. When you get more people, it takes more people to put out fires and more police officers to chase down and provide peace, hopefully, and some sort of law enforcement. All this is a problem of expanded population that we're getting into.
Yeah.
And I don't, there's not going to be a good answer.
No answer is going to make everybody happy. I found that already in a lot of things we've run into in the council. You can't, but we try to do, try to represent the constituents, trying to represent the majority, but you don't want to trample on the minority either while you're doing that.
Right. So what happens,
it's a balancing act.
If like we put a poll out and you
Yeah.
polled your people,
Yeah.
and 75% of those people say, we don't want that. We don't want that change. At this point, you're in a dilemma.
We are, yeah, because we're past already where it needs to happen.
So our insurance rates
yeah.
would go through the roof.
Next ISO next time, yeah, those get
We go from
redone
what, a
every
class
5
3? Where are
years.
we, class
I think
3
we're
now?
at class 3 right now. Yeah.
Okay,
If it
we
goes
go
up
to class 4.
or
You're gonna have a
5,
25-30% price increase on your homeowner's insurance.
which will then raise your
Right.
house payment every
Right,
month. And more
exactly.
bigger than, I mean, that's bad enough for residents. The bigger hit on that is business insurance.
Oh, but would be insane.
Yeah, would be a much higher as far as dollars and cents. Yeah, would be a lot. So it's for lack of better words, it's a conundrum.
Conundrum.
So
Yeah.
it's a conundrum. I mean, I don't know what other way to say it. And I understand the people that play baseball on the field and are upset, which is why we are looking to replace those
But
fields.
it's mainly
with
girls.
something
It's
else.
mainly girls. Youth
Mainly
league
softball, I think.
Yeah, from little ones to the teenage ones. They play there, and the Hillary Gardner had been there for years.
Right.
And I can remember back over the Musgrave property over to the, I guess you would say, toward the east from there. We played minor league baseball there when I was a kid, and we had a covered stands. I mean, it was covered.
Wow.
All right, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can even go back in there. I haven't been over there in years and can see it, but that's what everybody thinks of, and this is going to be.
Yeah. So in that part, I mean, the historic part, there's no fix for that. The only thing we can do and are trying to do is fix the physical part of not having somewhere for your kids to play ball. We want to make sure the kids can still play softball when this whole process is said and done. The same number of kids or more. In this case, probably more kids need to be able to play softball because we're getting more kids moving into town. So
it sounded like the first property pursuit was over by the library, and that just got shot down.
Yeah.
By a lot of different factors.
Number of different things fell apart on that one, including the some that aren't fixable, like the fact that you didn't have enough parking spaces.
Yeah.
So Tuesday evening we had the city council study session. Wasn't a ton of stuff there, but a couple of them were a little hot button. We talked about the fireworks ordinance. I didn't do a poll. I actually reached out. We've got a private little Facebook group just for our neighborhood. A lot of neighborhoods have that. So I just put a post up and said, here's 3 different ways to contact me privately. So we're not fighting in the comments section among the neighbors. I said, just send me a quick note. Say, hey, are you good with the fireworks ordinance changing? Are you not good with the fireworks ordinance changing? Out of the 300 people that are on the group, I think I got a couple 3 dozen responded, which isn't a great response rate, but it's enough to kind of get a feel. And it was about 3-1 positive for the change happening. The ones, however, that the one out of 4 that were negative were very emphatic that they didn't like the fireworks change. So my plan next week is to go in and make a motion when we have the meeting on Thursday and tighten up the ordinance back to 5 days instead of 7, which is still not going to make everybody happy. I had people that wanted it back to 1 day. I had people that wanted us to just eliminate fireworks in the city.
Yeah.
So you can't make everybody happy, but I'm trying to do the best we can to get a balance there.
Yeah.
So I felt like 5 was maybe somewhat of a middle ground. It's not going to make everybody happy. We had brief discussion because this was the first time we'd seen it. There is probably coming down the road, a food truck ordinance to the city.
Yeah.
If you've noticed, we're getting food trucks popping up everywhere. Everywhere. They just show up. So we have no city regulations on food trucks at all. So if they pass a health department inspection, they just open up.
Yeah.
So there's some things that both codes and planning want to do to just kind of get a little more of a handle on this, including requiring them to get a license. If there's going to be a group of them together, they have to get a permit for that, stuff like that, just so that we don't have them showing up in places where maybe they make traffic hazards, traffic issues coming and going. Yeah. We've got some that have shown up and they have questionable utilities, like maybe, you should be able to, if you're preparing food, I think you're supposed to be able to wash your hands. And if in order to wash your hands, you have to have water coming out, and that water needs to go into preferably sewage or some kind of wastewater treatment.
A lot of these are self-contained.
Right.
And there's a limit to that.
Right.
You only got so much of a tank,
So
30,
much.
40, 50 gallon max.
And
on
we've
holding
got
tanks.
some that are just permanently parked and never move.
Right.
And we just
They're-
want to make sure that they're doing.
Here's the thing
Yeah.
about it, Josh.
Yeah.
Everybody loves food trucks.
Oh, yeah,
For
I love food
events. For
trucks.
events.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be an established business, a food truck set up as an established business is hurting an established business where somebody's built or bought a piece of property,
A brick and mortar
a
restaurant.
brick and mortar restaurant.
Yeah.
So there has to be a distinguished difference between what a food truck actually is. You got to define what that is.
Yeah. And all
It's
that
on wheels for a reason. Okay.
Yeah, all that will be
Yeah.
in there. And this is not, and I know, and again, I love food trucks.
I do too.
I had me some
Yeah.
Taco Wapo last weekend. So,
Did you?
and
Yeah.
they're one of our permanent ones. And we're not looking to penalize food truck owners and, crack down on, but we want to make sure that everything's safe. We'll make sure the food coming out of them is, safe, that type of thing. So that is both our codes department and our planning department are working together. They've looked at other ordinances from other cities around Middle Tennessee. They're going to come up with something, present it to us. Last item that was on the agenda was one that you and Bo talked about earlier in the week, and then it came up for discussion the very next
I ain't
day.
through talking about this, Josh.
South Spring Street, which is the one block area from the front of what is now Glass Hollow Table and will soon be Grindstone Cowboy across the street,
Yep.
to the back corner of what will be eventually Glass Hollow Tavern, has been a road for as long as you've lived here, I'm sure, and probably back before that, before you're born.
Yeah.
And the idea that has been kicked around for a number of years here recently is to turn that into a pedestrian-only walkway.
And voila, that's what we have right now. I looked at it last night. I drove by, looked at it.
Cannot drive down
You
it.
can't drive down it. The sidewalk is out in the middle of the street.
Yes,
That's all I'm going to say, Josh.
It is currently already not and it actually has been technically closed to vehicle drive, 2 years?
While that construction is
Yeah, over
going
2
on there.
years.
And
Yeah.
the idea was we're going to close this off and we're going to vote on this.
Yes. So here's what's actually there's been some change in plans. We are actually going to have a vote Thursday of this week on changing the use of that street to pedestrian only.
Even though it's already been done.
It's been done, yes, but we're going to vote on it on Thursday. But this is not really the official vote because we have to have an ordinance that gets approved by the Planning Commission and then goes to
What if it
readings in
doesn't
the city.
What if it doesn't get approved, Josh? What are you going to do?
It's going to
Dig
be
up
very
some concrete.
expensive. Yeah, it's going to be very expensive. So
I'm agitating you, Josh.
No, that's
okay.
okay. There is actually going to be a vote this Thursday. The vote, actually, I believe the wording is to allow staff to begin the process of changing the use of the street to pedestrian.
Begin the process.
Begin the process.
How about it's completed already?
Well, it's not completed because the rest of the concrete's not down, but it will be
A
completed
lot
in
of
about a
concrete.
week or
A
so.
lot of concrete's
Yeah.
down there.
It'll be
Okay.
pretty
Cart
very
before
close.
the horse.
Yeah. Speaking of horse, I think they're going to do I hear they're. Well, I better not get into it.
Let's don't talk about it.
I've got some inside information
You're
about a
up a
horse
hard
coming there.
stop here,
I know.
Josh.
Yeah, I'm running out of time.
I'm sorry.
Okay, now that's it.
I'm gonna harass you for the next year about this.
That's fine.
Okay.
And then Thursday morning, we had the just a very brief meeting of our employee benefits committee. Just wanted to point out that I had it's my fault we're having this committee. We're just looking into the health insurance. We're eventually going to look at retirement and a couple other things. The first step is health insurance. I just made a statement with me. I just wanted to clarify the fact that we're not trying to take any benefits away from employees. If it turns out we can't figure out a way to do this without taking
I
something
heard
away,
you
we're just going to
explain
quit.
this, and
Yeah.
I would say it this way: you're trying to maximize what you're spending right now and get the most bang for the buck.
Most bang for the buck without hurting the employees.
Right.
And if we can't do it, we'll just stay where we're at.
Right.
But we're at least doing.
It hadn't been looked at in years.
It hasn't been bid
Yeah,
out in many years, so we're just looking at it again. And I think actually we really already covered this Thursday evening. Thursday afternoon. I did go to that the grand opening 65th anniversary thing of Cooper Steel. That was a great event.
Yes.
And good to see a local company that's thriving and hiring people. And they gave everybody a
We
raise
mentioned
at
that.
the meetings.
Americans.
Yes,
Americans.
Yes, they're a good American success story. So let's hear from our sponsor one more time, and we'll talk about what's coming up next week. So
Get the results you want with the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
Welcome back in here to the News That Matters, the weekend wrap-up show. We're about to wrap things up and just take a look ahead what's coming.
Yep, should be not a crazy week, hopefully, for me anyways. I've got a few meetings. Tuesday and Friday, we've got presentations at that Employee Benefits Committee just from 3 different companies that want to bring health insurance to city employees. We're going to hear from them. Wednesday evening will be the beer board meeting. They'll be having more discussion of the entertainment district, the more controversial side of it, the open container rules or not rules or whatever's going to happen.
Entertainment district, is that what we're calling it?
Well, it's called what is it called?
Riverview
District.
Right.
But as far as an overall
So it's
arching name,
entertainment.
it would be an entertainment district if it is allowed to go down the open container.
We have some
Road,
other entertainment
so.
districts around here, but I'm not going to mention those.
Yeah,
Josh. We won't. I was confused for a second.
Yeah. And then Thursday will be the city council meeting. I do hear there are a number of people coming that are upset about the ball fields.
Which ball fields? We're talking about the
Musgrave
ball fields that y'all
So
are going to tear apart.
we're not
just destroy history.
We're not trying to destroy
I know
history.
you're not.
And I did see, yes, and I will say, Mr. Hardison, who did say keep the ball fields in the comments, did want to say I saw that. And we would love to keep the ball fields and definitely are open to alternatives, but we also have got to figure out the fire department issue. So if we do nothing, which is what has been done, that fire department building has been there since 1960 something. And I think we had
63.
a lot fewer people in the city when that building was built.
Yeah,
in the 60s,
we were probably
so
about 10,000 when that was built,
Yeah.
or less, maybe 9,500 to 10,000 in the early
We've
60s.
tripled in size and done nothing to expand that. So that's
No, since
where-
I was in high school, we had
Yeah.
Fire Hall number 2 out there. That the little building that
Right.
was built in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
So
So that's what happens. It's one of those problems that's been kicked down the can that's been kicked down the road for
do it potentially
tens
we
of
would,
years.
Would we need a west and north
North-
fire station?
Like I said, North is needed almost at the same time, which is going to be called Fire Station 4. North is needed.
Right.
We have one that's technically north. We have the one at the airport. So this would be kind of a mid-north. The one that's needed now is Fire Station 4. And then, yes, the coming not so far down the road past that will be a west station. So we do have a west one that will be needed
If
once.
y'all keep blowing things out the seams out there, Josh. Y'all
Well,
gonna need
there's
one in your
already
neighborhood.
enough. Yeah, my neighborhood almost could use one. But there's already enough houses and stuff on the books coming on the west side that it will be, particularly depending what happens with the swing property.
And Josh, you're
So,
running late, man.
Yeah, I've got I believe we got a historical marker that's going to be unveiled here in 12 minutes
All right,
on
so you
Lipscomb
got 12
Street.
minutes. We're
So-
gonna get out of here so Josh can make this event.
Yes, but we will be back here, same time,
Same
same place, same channel next week with all the news that matters and
Talking about stuff.
talk about ball fields probably. So I
Probably
love
so.
to hear from everybody. Come
Yeah.
out Thursday.
Yeah.
Love to see you. Come in and talk to me. I'll be right there and I'll talk to anybody.
That's
So,
right. Thanks
yeah.
for our sponsors again, Dennis Young Insurance and Leverage Power Washing. We'll be back next week.